Thank you, Commissioner LaBarbera. At this next stage, we're going to call the meeting on the Committee on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management, which will be chaired by Vice Chair Jeff Linford. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today's meeting of the Committee on Planning, Execution, and Asset Management is being held, wrong one. Is that an executive session?
No.
Okay, at least I caught it. As chairman of the Committee on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management, I will now report on an item under the committee's purview. This item was presented by our Director of Aviation Redevelopment in public session of the committee earlier today. This item authorized an additional planning in the amount of $35 million in support of the development No problem. Thank you. Try one more time. Third time's charm. Today's meeting of the Committee on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management is being held in public session. The committee also met in executive session earlier today to discuss matters involving ongoing negotiations or reviews of contracts and proposals. At this point, I will ask the Secretary to advise those present of the composition of the committee and any commissioner recusals on the item before the committee. For our first order of business...
Sorry, Vice Chairman. The committee is composed of Vice Chairman Linford, the committee chair, Chairman O'Toole, the committee vice chair, and Commissioners LaBarbera and Rosado. Also present are Commissioners Bolwage, Eve, Fine, Fisher, Kelly, McCabe, and Richardson. There are no recusals required.
Thank you. For our first order of business, I call on our Director of Aviation Redevelopment, Jackie McCarthy, to present an item that would authorize additional planning for the redevelopment of Newark Liberty International Airport's Terminal B. Jackie.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Executive Director Cotton, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board. I'm here today to request funds for the planning authorization for a new Terminal B at Newark Liberty International Airport. The objectives of the planning authorization stem from the near-term recommendations outlined in the recently released and completed visioning plan and will include a replacement of Terminal B as well as necessary supporting infrastructure for airside, landside, and utility. The planning exercise will address providing capacity for long-term passenger demand, reducing delays and increasing operational efficiency and resiliency, enabling access, business, and employment opportunities to the local community, and focusing on sustainability in every element to establish Newark Airport as a sustainable leader in the industry. Some background on previous efforts. In October of 2019, the board authorized $35 million for the development of the Newark Vision Plan and planning for a new Terminal B. There was a delay in the release of the Vision Plan initially, and in August of 2022, the Vision Plan process continued and was launched following this COVID pause. In October of 24, the Port Authority publicly announced the release of the Vision Plan via press release and press conference last week. And now, a new Terminal B program planning is planned to follow the recent release of the Vision Plan. Currently, there are $20 million in funds available remaining from the previously authorized $35 million. The scope included in this effort contains Terminal B program planning, which will include the concept design for the new terminal, roadways and airside functional plans, a value engineering effort, and the development of procurement and financing plans, infrastructure planning and design, including the replacement of the central heating and refrigeration plant, which provides chilled and hot water for our terminals for heating and cooling, as well as supporting infrastructure, and infrastructure renewal for electrical, water, gas, drainage, and fuel. Additionally, we'll be performing an environmental analysis of the development as a whole. The program planning budget is anticipated to be $55 million, which means $35 million being requested of additional planning for a new Terminal B at Newark Airport resulting in a total planning of the 55. This is expected to be approximately a 2-year effort. So today I'm requesting that the board authorize $35 million for additional funds to support preliminary planning and design for a new Terminal B at Newark, which, including previously authorized funds, would total $55 million for the planning effort. And also that the board authorize the executive director to award planning and other professional, technical, and advisory service agreements to support these planning efforts pursuant to a publicly advertised competitive procurement, and authorize the executive director to submit an application for up to $35 million in passenger facility charges to recover eligible expenditures associated with the foregoing additional $35 million in planning efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. May I please have a motion?
So moved. So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second? Second. Thank you. Hearing none, the motion is passed. Next, I call on our Chief Development Officer, Derek Utter, to present the quarterly capital performance results for the first 9 months of 2024. Derek.
Great. Thank you, Vice Chairman. Good afternoon, Commissioners. So I'm here to report today on the first 9 months capital plan results. Just quickly, the headlines. We have spent $1.8 billion in the first 9 months. This is up about $300 million from the first 9 months in 2023, so for the same period of time. Our overall spending is about 80% of the plan that we laid out at the beginning of the year, and I'll go into some of the details in a moment. And we hit 90% of our planned schedule milestones on target or ahead of target. So looking at the broader history here, the last few years we have typically spent below our total amount in our plan. In fact, the last 2 years below 80%. This year we're trending at about 80% of our plan. The underspending is largely divided amongst 3 major projects: the Midtown Bus Terminal replacement, the AirTrain Newark replacement, and the JFK Roads, Utilities, and Ground Transportation Center, although I will point out that we expect the JFK spending to catch up by the end of the year and not to be a real reason for underspending during the course of the entire year. The other 2 projects are projects that are in the pre-construction phase, and when we move into construction, we tend to spend a lot more, and we had estimated that we might move into construction. We had budgeted to allow ourselves to move into construction as quickly as possible so that the budget, at least to start these first phases, was not the constraint. In terms of our schedule milestones, we had 72 planned schedule milestones in the first 9 months of the year. These are the completion of the pre-construction phase when we award a contract, and then secondly, when we complete construction for a project. So every project has 2 milestones. We have a lot of smaller projects, and we track these to make sure that we're being aggressive and staying on top of all of the projects in our plan. So we hit 90%. This is our goal, to hit at least 90%, and we had a lower year last year. We put in place a number of measures to stay on top of some of the reasons for those delays, and this year we're trending back to where we'd like to be. In terms of projects, specific projects, we had several notable contract awards. The JFK construction of South Hardstand areas. The importance of that is that's the last major piece to award amongst the JFK redevelopment projects the Port Authority is leading on the infrastructure side. So the other big one last year was the Roads, Utilities, and Ground Transportation Center. That's really the redo of the road network. This is the last major piece. So now our projects have been contracted, and now construction will continue underway. Amongst projects put into beneficial use, we completed the path rehabilitation of mechanical systems and controls at the Hackensack River Bridge. This is an important project so that we make sure that the bridge controls and the bridge works correctly. We also completed 2 path restoration projects, one at the Grove Street station and the other at the Exchange Place station. As well as the Port Newark, we completed priority rehabs of 6 berths. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Derek. Do any commissioners have comments or questions regarding this report? Hearing none, this concludes today's meeting of the Committee on Planning, Execution, and Asset Management. Turn it back to our chairman.